is Jane Scott, and I'm President and CEO of the Metropolitan Club, and it's indeed an honor and a privilege for me to be the person to welcome you this afternoon on behalf of our board and our program committee and our staff. It's always a pleasure to be part of the Metropolitan Club. Today's forum and our series, Top of the Ticket, Ohio's Governor's Race, today featuring our Governor John Kasich, is made possible with the support from the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation and Hannah News Service and the Columbus Dispatch. Will you please help me in thanking our sponsors and welcome Jack Fisher, Executive Vice President from the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation, to introduce our program.
Thank you so much, Jane, and good afternoon to everybody. And on behalf of my colleagues from Hannah News Service and the Columbus Dispatch, we are proud to be co-sponsors of this event today. We recognize the great opportunity that the Columbus Metropolitan Clubs allows all of us to engage in our community in a very active way. And so hearing from our policymakers is something that we all like to do, and we appreciate that very much. Certainly, in my opinion, democracy thrives on engagement, so thanks to all of you for being here today. So throughout his term, Governor Kasich has clearly demonstrated his appreciation for the important role that agriculture plays in Ohio. That means something to all of you because you all like to eat. The governor was instrumental in initiating several policy initiatives to reinvigorate Ohio's economy, including an issue extremely important to Ohio farmers, and that was the repeal of the Ohio estate tax. For his work, our organization recognized the governor with what we call our Friend of Agriculture, our official designation for elected officials who have supported our public policy initiatives in Farm Bureau and their accessibility to the organization. So today, I would like to welcome a father, a husband, a public servant, a reformer, and an active, outspoken, and dedicated citizen of the state of Ohio. Please help me give a warm welcome to Ohio's Republican candidate for governor, Governor John Kasich. I'm going to just one more announcement. Thank you. Before the governor starts, welcome our moderator and host, Carol Luper, who's been a part of these series the entire season. So, Carol, good to see you again, and we look forward to your participation in a few minutes. Governor.
All right, Jack. Love Jack Fisher. He's truly outstanding in his field. Oh, come on. Well, it's great to be here, an honor to be here with folks from the Metropolitan Club, and we need to do this more often. I've been here before, but it's great to be back. So let me just say a couple things here in opening that I think you should give some thought to. You know, I always like to think about where we were and where we are. And when I came into this job, or when I was actually running for this job, things were pretty bleak. We were 48th in job creation in the country. We had lost 350,000 jobs. And then I was facing this $8 billion historic deficit, the largest, of course, in Ohio history. You know, a lot of people thought, well, okay, in order to fix that, just go ahead and raise taxes. But I looked at it. When you're 48th in job creation, when your credit rating is hanging in the balance, raising taxes is like owning a restaurant where you don't have any customers. So you say to your friends, well, I think I can fix this. I'll just raise our prices. And I knew that didn't make any sense. So we started early on. I've always been a reformer, even in the time when I was in Washington. So we looked at everything to try to decide what did we need, what didn't we need, what would we love to have but we couldn't afford, and what could we improve. And that's exactly how we went about it. And in a short period of time, that $8 billion deficit has now led to a $1.5 billion surplus, which is fantastic to have because you want that extra money in the piggy bank. For the simple fact of the matter is you don't know what's coming around the corner, and you may need some of that money. And not only that, but of course it's an insurance policy to tell businesses who want to create jobs that we live in a stable place. So I was very happy with the fact that we could get that budget balanced and get ourselves in a position of where we could actually cut taxes, because I think if you have that restaurant and you have no customers, you want to cut your prices and maybe change the menu, and that's precisely what we did in Ohio. At the same time, the independent bond rating agencies, which are really important, they're the folks that take a look at your financial stability. When I first went to New York and told them about our plans, and I was there with Tim Keene, our very experienced budget director, they were very skeptical. They said, we don't see how this is going to happen. And I said, well, we're going to diversify and electrify the economy of the state of Ohio. And by getting our budget balanced, by being in a position of being able to diversify the industries that we have in the state, you're going to see that we have the capability to grow. That in addition to the fact that we have three things that all real estate people tell you. We have location, location, and location. So we just need to set Ohio free to regain its strength. And fortunately, after our outlook had been downgraded by the credit agencies, they have now been upgraded, which is a sign of an independent group that talks about the strength of our state. Now, we were down to 350,000 private sector jobs, and today we are somewhere around 248,000 in the plus column, almost 250,000. And we've gone from 48th in job creation in the country to number 8 in job creation. So when you look at this, you look at growing economic strength, and then you look at diversification. We used to be known really kind of fundamentally as an agriculture and manufacturing state. We still love manufacturing. We are now moving towards advanced manufacturing along with traditional manufacturing, but at the same time, and we love agriculture, but we look at agriculture a little differently now, not just your staple products, but food processing and advanced industries and agriculture. But then when you think about Ohio, you have to think about energy, energy industry. You think about IT, IBM data analytics, pretty exciting. And you take a look at the new startups. We have an incredible number of new startups in 2014. 13 was a record year. New business startups in 14 we think will eclipse that. And in addition to that, we have a logistics industry, a healthcare industry, a financial services industry. People don't know it, but we've got the second number of Chase employees in America located in Ohio. So when you look at the diversification, it means that when one part of your economy gets hurt, it means the other part of your economy can sustain your growth, and that's absolutely critical. So here's the other thing I want to say before we get over to Carol. As we've gotten stronger, it's just like a mom and dad who get stronger. When mom and dad get stronger, they can do more to help the kids. When Ohio and the economy get stronger, it means that we can do many things to reach out to people who have traditionally been ignored. Let's think about those for a second. Families with children who are autistic. We don't have it all covered, but we have a much greater universe of coverage for families that find themselves in what can be a difficult situation financially. We're now helping them. Mental illness. It wasn't long ago that my daughter Reese and I were watching television, and they had a special on the number of people who were mentally ill who were in our prisons. 20% of the people in our prisons today in Ohio have some form of mental illness. They've been ignored for too long. We are now have the resources to be able to treat people, to get them a sustainable program and restore their lives. Because just because you're bipolar or schizophrenic doesn't mean, with the right treatment, that you can't be in a position to be able to lead a full life. We owe that to people, all of us made in the image of the Lord. The drug addicted. We've launched a major war on drugs in this state, both from busting people to educating people to now having the resources to rehab people. And it's not something that can be done overnight. But we are now engaged in this war with protocols and discipline and education and treatment. It's a 360 approach. And the working poor created the Earned Income Tax Credit, first time in Ohio history. We want to make sure that as we reduce the taxes on people at the top, which is what we've done, we've also provided incentives for people who are the working poor so they can have more incentives to be able to get ahead. And now they can have some comprehensive health care that they've never had before. I like to think of it as a 360 program. Build the state, make it stronger, leave no one behind. An aggressive program to make sure that our minority citizens can share in the growth and the benefits that can come to them from the growth in the state of Ohio, like the Opportunity Corridor and the set-asides and meeting the state laws on set-asides for the first time in our history. Here's, folks, what I want you to know. In my gut, as I've traveled this state, more than anybody has traveled this state, 250,000 miles, they tell me, on the SUVs in about 3 years. Ohio's becoming united. Ohio is getting optimistic again. For the first time in a dozen years, Ohioans, unlike other parts of the country, are beginning to say that we're headed in the right direction. People are optimistic. They don't feel ignored. Oh, we're going to have the naysayers and the people that won't agree with what I'm saying, but by and large in our state, everyone's included. Everyone has a chance, and the vast majority of Ohioans are hopeful. What a fantastic thing. And because of that, I think the Lord's smiling. Some people criticize me and say, well, you know, he's not really a conservative, or he's too conservative. You know what? They've never put me in a box, and I'm not about to let them until the day I die. At the end of the day, it's all about giving people a chance, looking at problems, and trying to solve them. And finally, Carol, you can't do any of this without great people around you, people who are motivated to do good. The staff, the administration, the cabinet, I thank them all the time, because they could go a lot of other places and make more money and have a better life sometimes than what they have working in the administration. But they do it, and I think they do it because they know this is a special time in the state. Very little politics and a focus on accomplishments and giving everyone a chance. I think it's a winning formula, not just for Ohio, but I think it's frankly a winning formula for America. Thanks, Carol. Oh. You know, I don't really know how to put these microphones on. I haven't had much experience with this.
Well, I don't know. You even had your own show
Just
at one
kidding.
time.
Just
so
kidding.
I think
God, I'm
you know.
awfully close to you, Carol.
Where
Right
would
here.
you rather
No, this
be?
is good.
Oh,
This
okay.
is good. This is like that show in the mornings. I forget what they call it.
Morning Joe?
No. Well, not a political show,
Oh,
Carol.
I'm sorry, not a political show.
The View. I think I'd be pretty good on The View.
Well, we'll recommend you.
Maybe
sometime,
for,
though.
you know, one appearance. We'll see.
And I just want you to know, I think I've been interviewing you for probably 30 years.
Maybe
and,
more. Maybe longer.
I'm just very happy to have this opportunity.
Thank you.
First question. This is the third gubernatorial candidate session, luncheon, for the Metropolitan Club, because all three candidates have had an opportunity to be interviewed. I would have much rather just done one. Why not debate?
Well, look, you know, we've got Joanne Davidson sitting out here. She's probably the most respected elected official in the state. And Joanne headed my team, and you know, the fact is that she offered them a couple opportunities which they rejected. And then we couldn't find anybody really to discuss this with, and then we got an ultimatum, and I don't know what you know about me, Carol, but I don't respond much to ultimatums. And so you know what, but what you need to know is this is, I think I've probably done about 12, 13, maybe 14 hours of answering questions at editorial boards. We're here today. I mean, I've done gaggles. I have other words for that, but the gaggle. You know, you spend time with reporters, and I think that's worked out quite well for my being questioned. I mean, at some of these editorial boards, they're like, "Aren't you going to leave yet?" I said, "I'm here as long as you want me. You ask me anything you want me," and that's kind of the way we've proceeded. And you know, here we're a week away.
I don't want to call it the elephant in the room, but Jobs Ohio
Okay.
If the state auditor can't audit the books, how can the public know if it's working? Is it working?
Well, first of all, we're up 250,000 jobs, so something's working. And let's talk about Jobs Ohio. You know, the old Department of Development had an awful lot of on-the-job training. You know, when Jamie Dimon wants to make a decision about whether to expand banking in Ohio, you don't want to go and get a crash course in what is the difference between a stock and a bond. And what we have with Jobs Ohio are people who are very qualified. So we have experts in energy, we've got experts in financial services, in manufacturing. Just yesterday we were down in Waverly, Ohio, having an announcement with the Rural King, which was so fantastic because they're in that old cabinet place that had shut down and just destroyed hope, and now we've reopened it. Good, a lot of work, flexibility. Now here's the situation with Jobs Ohio. Number one, they are audited by a public auditing firm. They're probably the most public-private operation in the state. One is you get the public auditing firm. They come in, it's in the annual report. Secondly, the auditor of the state, he does a compliance audit to make sure that everything's in order. Thirdly, there's a group on top of Jobs Ohio that reviews everything that they do. Fourthly, is if there's a tax change in Ohio, it goes to the government for a tax change. Now, and at the end of the day, every single dime that is spent by Jobs Ohio is revealed. So what is it that people don't like? I guess they want to see a couple emails about meet me at Starbucks at 10 or something like that. But I don't know how you can be more public than that. And it's working great, and we've got great people over there. The board of directors, by the way, they have to comply with the same rules and regulations of anybody that goes on the board of trustees at a university, community college. It's the same deal. So everybody knows what's happening, and again, they're doing a really good job in terms of doing very complicated deals and moving at the speed of business. By the way, one of the real exciting things that happened in Ohio was the location of Fuyao from China to Dayton, 800 jobs. Christy Tanner went from Columbus to Russia to China. I mean, you wouldn't believe how difficult those kinds of things are under the old system. The old system was fine for a while, but you always got to, look, you got to change and innovate. So that's kind of the way we see it, Carol.
Are you going to run for president, Governor?
I didn't know there was an elephant in the room. There's a lot of elephants.
There are a lot of pictures, here.
Yeah. Am I going to run for president?
Are you going to run for president? Do you think I should? Do I think you should?
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Carol.
And you've done that too.
Yeah.
May we talk about that later?
Yeah, okay.
My opinion? Okay.
Look. I'm a week out, isn't it? No, it's 6 days. Yeah, a week from today. I'm running for governor, Carol. I never in my wildest dreams, when I was an aide in the Ohio Senate, never in my wildest dreams, when I would see governors walk by and everything, you know, I'd look in their office to see if there was something special in there, that I would be governor. Look, I was out of politics for 10 years, you know, and I felt a calling, and I'll tell you why. There is no way, coming from McKees Rocks, with a father that carried mail, and a mother who had a mother that couldn't even speak English because she was Yugoslavian, and no relatives whatsoever in the state. The things that have happened to me in my lifetime, for whatever reason, I think the hand of the Lord's been on me. It's on a lot of people, but I feel blessed and lucky about it. And then I left politics for 10 years after we got the budget balance in Washington. And then, you know, between my work as a banker and Fox News and writing books, and I got an inkling I could help the state. And that's why I came back. And I'm blessed to be in this job. And I don't look beyond my purpose here as governor. That, by the way, is why we don't play politics. You know, everybody does a little bit. We do it in your family. But we don't do much politics. Because if somebody needs to be lifted, you know, just yesterday there was an attack on me in the Wall Street Journal for things that I've done, like expanding Medicaid, Gail. You know what? Who cares? Okay, I respect people that don't agree with me, but at the end of the day, if we could lift people, that's what we ought to be doing in politics, in government. And so I'm not thinking about any other job other than having the privileged occupation as, think about this, governor of the state of Ohio. You know, that's pretty darn good.
Governor, is that a no?
Carol's always been right to the point. Yeah, I don't have any intention of doing that, Carol. I'm just not. You know my wife, Karen. Somebody wrote a nice article about me about 2016, and I sent it to my wife, and she sent me an email back, and it's because I didn't want to bring it up to her, so I sent her an email, and she sent an email back saying, "That sounds like they're nice people." That's the end of that.
Your ads are saying you have a female doctor from Columbus, female ophthalmologist, talking about you and all that you have done for women. Tell us, what have you done for women in the state of Ohio?
Well, Carol, I mean, you start with things like prenatal, postnatal, early childhood, which is concern about kids, families, women. What we're doing on autism. I mean, it's a whole series of things that are designed to make sure we lift the family and also to be in a position of where women in our society are elevated. My chief of staff, who's here today, I mean, she's the first woman chief of staff to come in with a new governor in the history of the state of Ohio. I have a number of them throughout my administration who are, Kim Kushbaugh, who's with us today. She runs the cabinet. So there are policies, and there are also things you do to just go beyond the policy to demonstrate the priorities that you have in regard to women. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but I appointed a woman to the Ohio Supreme Court, Judy French, and I hope she wins, so please vote for her, okay?
You said there's $1.5 billion in the rainy day fund in the surplus. Local governments were hit pretty hard and had to raise taxes in many cases. Do you intend to return any money to municipalities?
Well, first of all, they didn't raise taxes. In fact, I think some of the local government, Carol, they didn't. I'm going to get you the statistics if you want them. Some of them did. But I think as it relates to school levies, I don't have the numbers in front of me now, I think that they are actually below the last 10-year historic average. And I think only 4% of counties raise taxes. Now, here's the little thing that I don't think you know. Do you realize that 92% of reporting local governments are running a surplus greater than the state of Ohio? 92%. Greater than the state of Ohio. So I was down in Lancaster with the mayor. I didn't see the mayor down there. He's a Republican. He was attacking me for, cutting his budget. So we did a little checking. And we found out that they're running a 15% surplus. So I don't think I need to send him money. Now, the issue of the townships is an issue that always comes up. And within the local government fund, because some townships act like cities, if we need to look at the formula inside the fund, that's fine. But I have to tell you that the single biggest thing that we can do for local governments is to grow businesses. And that's why these communities kind of fight with one another sometimes over who gets located where. And the bottom line on this, Carol, is that I'm always willing to look at things, but at this point, it appears with a 92% of local governments running a surplus greater than ours, that's pretty good news. It doesn't mean we won't continue to look at it. Now, let me just say one other thing about the surplus. The surplus is an insurance policy that businesses want to see. They don't just want to see a balanced budget. They want to see more than that. They want to see tax cuts, but they also want to know that there is financial security, so they're not going to turn around and get hit up the back of the head. But let me tell you one other area beyond that. As you know, we had an Ebola situation in Akron. I'm pleased to see that the nurse has been now released. We will be in a position here in the next few days to be able to know how the folks are here in the state. But there are costs associated with that. It's nice to have a little money in the piggy bank when you get a crisis. And we've had a lot of challenges here in the state. And there are times when we're going to have to, as a government, help people that get stuck. I mean, stuck in a situation that could be related to a crisis. For example, the Toledo water crisis. You know, we were sending money. I mean, you want to make sure you got a little money in the piggy bank, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Medicaid expansion, you pushed for it, allows Ohioans access to federal funds, and low-income Ohioans can be part of the Affordable Care Act. Controversial, something that you took some heat on. Explain what you did and why.
Yeah, well, you know, first of all, do you know that Ronald Reagan expanded Medicaid? And he didn't have to change the whole healthcare system to do that. I mean, the fact that we have these childless adults, and there are very significant complications for people when they can't get health care. And it's not just that they get treated later and they're in a worse situation, but sometimes it leads to some situations that are not even good for children. But look, this was not a hard decision. Tracy Plouk, who runs mental health for me, she's an incredible lady. Drug addiction services, mental health. She's in my office right in the middle of all this. I said, Tracy, what do you think I'm going to do with Medicaid expansion? She's like, I don't know, but I pray every night you'll expand. So I said, well, Tracy, if you won't tell anybody, of course I'm going to expand it. And she walked outside of my office, and she was in the ante room where Carrie Wrench works, and she broke down and cried. And you can't ignore people that have problems. You know, look, when it comes to like welfare, which is a program that is always under attack, we want to give people the skills to get out of welfare, but we're going to help people that are down on their luck. But we're also going to call for some personal accountability because they got personal responsibility in terms of helping themselves as well. But when it comes to the drug problem, I mean, it's everywhere. How's it going on the drug situation? Well, we know when we're busting people, these drug pushers, that we're getting less of amount of drugs. And that means that the artery of Ohio is being pushed out. That's good news. We also have a protocol in place where doctors cannot just be capricious in the writing of medication for prescription drugs. This is what's led to a lot of the problem. As we've tightened that up, people have moved towards heroin. But when you need to be rehabbed, you know, I ask people, did you ever smoke cigarettes? Oh, yeah, everybody laughs. So how many times did it take you to quit? Oh, 3 times, okay? Think about having a heroin addiction. 3 times? 5 times? And the last place we want to put them is in jail, in prison. So you got to have the resources to fix, to rehab, to help. And then when it comes to mental health, I mean, you just got to be kidding me. You know, I was around when they closed down all the big institutions and they said they'd take care of these folks in the community. The next time you drive in your car and you see somebody pushing a shopping cart that's piled over with a bunch of things that you think are junk, that's all they have in this world. We're not going to ignore them anymore. We're going to help them. That's the way it's got to be. Now, that doesn't mean we just give everything away. You know, you just don't give everything away. There's accountability that comes with it. But Carol, you know, as I said, when you get to see St. Peter, he's not going to ask, did you balance the budget? He's going to say, whether he's Peter or whether he's Jacob, what'd you do for the least of those? Now, here's the only thing we have to understand, and we are now in the process of welfare transformation. We want the welfare office, the job training office, and the business community in our welfare offices like they are over in Licking County, where they've hired 90 people at a 90% retention rate because they have trained them. This is all connected to this big issue. It's connected to this big issue of poverty. You talk about what you got to do, you know, down the road. The list goes on. And the ability to lift people and to get those tax-paying citizens to say, this is a good plan, fantastic.
So if you wake up Wednesday morning, a week from tomorrow, and the people have kept you as governor, what are your priorities?
Oh, well, I mean, we got to continue to make this a business-friendly state. Got to continue to lower the income tax. We've had $12 billion walk out of this state
to other places where they have much lower taxes or no income tax. Just saw an ad the other day. Florida, they were comparing themselves to New York. Sales tax was about 7. Property taxes, they said they were lower than Florida. Income tax, 0. State and local taxes, 0. Tax on capital gains, 0. That's why, I get so nervous to go into Naples because all I see are Ohioans. I'm trying to go down there to get away, So that's one issue. Look, let me say job training. The issue is so long, but let me just tell you one thing I saw the other day. I was up at Tri-Rivers Vocational School. The kids in that school are so excited about learning. Is that the way it is in all the schools? Are all the schools getting kids excited about learning? And what is it that makes that environment so positive and so uplifting? And what can we learn from that environment to transfer into every school? Because, Carol, a couple programs. One is we need, go on and on. We need to mentor our kids. We've got this community connectors where we're going to have business and faith-based in the schools, loving kids, directing them, teaching them, mentoring them. In Cincinnati, I'll talk quick here, in Cincinnati, 65% graduation rate in those schools. In a high school where they mentor them, it's a 97% graduation rate. Kids are fired up and excited. They get jobs. Secondly, no kid should be in school where they don't have an effective guidance counselor to give them, to figure out what their God-given potential and gifts are and passions are and feed them. And when you go to a 2-year school or a 4-year school, you need to have somebody with you until you get your degree. They need to check on you. They need to guide you. They need to help you. And we're going to get this done in this place. And we have got to figure out how we're going to bring a reduction in the growth of higher education. Because I tell you, these costs keep going up like they are, and everybody will go online. Now, we're doing a lot of things on that, like you can be in school and you can get college credit while you're graduating from high school. You can go to a community college, spend 2 years, go to the 4-year school, and dramatically cut your costs. There's a lot of things. But Gordon Gee, remember him? Gordon Gee is working with us now to come up with a comprehensive program to figure out how to reduce costs. And there's an interesting thing. I went up to Jim Tressel's convocation up in Youngstown. He said, the dean of this, the dean of this, the dean of that, and the dean of this. I thought we were like one place. Now I'm starting to think we got this college, and this university, and this university, and this university. We need to run our universities horizontally rather than vertically. But that's that. Then it's welfare transformation. It's making sure that we train people for jobs that exist. It's making sure that we reform this welfare system so it has buy-in across the board. It's continuing to help small businesses grow, particularly so minorities can get into the small business area. Carol, I'm not lacking for ideas, okay? I'm not. And you know what? What's so great about this job, as compared to my other jobs, is that I got a world-class team around me, and we think big. We think big. We have the attitude of an Apple or an Amazon or any of these exciting. We are thinking like, what can we do? Moogs. We think about, okay, what if we have a bunch of companies that get together, create a curriculum. We offer it worldwide. People take it. The companies commit to those who score the highest. Operating on this curriculum will get hired. We could have a 17-year-old girl from Pakistan that could get a job. We just think aggressively about lots of different things. And it's kind of cool and it's exciting. I think that's why the people are kind of hopped up around. They're like, this is a little different. It's just not the same old boring stuff. I'm trying to be boring, though, Carol. I try so hard to be boring.
Not since I've known you. My last question.
Yeah.
College costs keep going up. Student loans are strangling people. Mm-hmm. What can you do?
Well, look, we had construction reform where we reduced the costs of universities having to construct. Secondly, we have said to the universities, you got to work together. We had a capital bill where we said, don't just go building more, just work together and figure out what your greatest priorities are. And then we came with the most significant reform in the country. You don't get any public money until a student completes a course or gets a degree. Do you realize what a big deal that is? I tell you, I salute the college and university presidents. They've all agreed to this. They say that I've got the best relationship with them of any governor in the country. That's what they tell me. They probably tell me that to make me feel good. But think about that. We no longer have the incentive on enrollment. Now we have the incentive on completion. That's just huge. Now, this whole business about horizontal education versus vertical education, I mean, these are fundamental things that Gordon sold a parking garage up here for $500 million. You would have thought that he was selling people's homes. There was so much ruckus against him doing it. The problem is you've got to reform these universities the same way that we've been reforming Ohio. You cannot worry about all the politics. You've got to bring everybody together. But at the end of the day, I've told both the public and the private schools this. If you don't do some significant and dramatic things to control your costs, people are going to go online for a fraction of the costs. And they'll lose the college experience, which none of us want to see happen. Who knows? I might still be in McKees Rocks. That probably makes some people happy, but I would maybe still be in McKees Rocks had I gone to school online. And the college experience is special. So, Carol, we'll be all over this.
I want to thank you for answering my questions, and now it's a tradition of the Columbus Metropolitan Club to have everyone here have the opportunity to ask you a question, but we're doing it a little bit differently today. Questions are written, and members of the Columbus Metropolitan Club will read you the questions along with the name of the person who submitted the question, and there's a line. Please begin.
Good afternoon, Governor.
Yes.
Kimber Perfect with Paul Worth Associates. And our first question for you this afternoon is from Gail Channing Tenenbaum. And Gail asks...
I never heard of that person. She's here in attendance? Go ahead.
Please discuss the importance of early care and education for young children's cognitive, health care, and social and emotional issues.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, we received a $70 million grant from the federal government to study this whole issue of early childhood, which, you think about it. I think about my kids. You got these precious little kids, and they need to be loved and guided and supported. They need to be fed, which we do. And by the way, we're actually thinking in our schools of copying a model. I think we have a pilot project going where we're going to have the schools as a kind of a center of everything. Healthcare, gymnasium time, all these things connected to the school, which brings the whole family, we hope, to the school. They do some of this in Cincinnati, and we're on a pilot project to do it. But back to early childhood. So we received the $70 million. And what we have found in Ohio is that our early child education system and our, everything connected to it, the child care, it's been divided. You have a program out of the Department of Education and a program out of Jobs and Family Services. We have a number of women, in fact, it's almost exclusively women except for Ben Kanzig, working on this to make sure that the standards are equal because the Department of Education standards have been higher. So we've studied this. We know what our challenges are. We spend somewhere between, $500 million plus another $300 million in Head Start money, and we added just another 30 working with Peggy Lehner, who's a terrific lady when it comes to this. More money will have to be spent. There will be more money that will have to be spent in this area, but what we want to make sure of is that we're not throwing money at a program that's not going to give us the results. So we want quality child care, quality early childhood education. And we're going to do it because we do understand that if you don't get involved with kids at a very young age, you're going to lose their ability to be, to realize their potential. And, some people, I give Gail a lot of credit. She works with us. People sometimes are impatient, but Gail knows my heart on this stuff and knows what we're trying to do, and you will see more being prioritized in the area of early childhood.
I'm Carol Mary with Fulgen Mortine, and the question I have is from Garth Weithman. As a young professional who relies on transit on a daily basis, I'd like to know what Ohio plans to do to accommodate the increasing need for transportation options other than them driving in a car.
Oh. Well, we're not going for any
high-speed rail that travels at 20 miles an hour, I can tell you that. Look, we've got, this is another interesting thing. Carol, this is really interesting. Talk about innovation. So we had this turnpike, right? And I said at the time, well, I think we need to figure out how to unlock the value of that turnpike. And that was like unbelievable to people who live in Northeast Ohio. They didn't want, I mean, what are you going to do with our turnpike? Everybody calm down. So we looked at the options. And we could bond against the tolls and guess what? Have $1 billion more in highway money. We have the largest transportation program in the history of the state, and not only are we fixing our roads, but we're helping local governments by helping them to fix their bridges, which has never been done before in our history. Now, what's interesting about that is when I came up with that idea, I had no supporters, and now that we've done it, it was everybody else's idea. You know, that's the way it works in this business, and that's cool. So we have the largest highway program in the history of the state. And that's critical for us from the logistics standpoint, because we got, Zulily, big distribution center. We want a lot of distribution center. We have distribution centers, you need to move things. And so we're modernizing all of that. And then, you got car to go or whatever. I mean, you can go, I'm just kidding. But, I mean, I see us being in a position to, number one, make sure our highways are as efficient, effective, and safe as possible. But secondly, I happen to know this guy, Sebastian Throne. He worked for Google. He created the self-driving car. Here's another thing we would think about. I don't know how all that's going to work, but if Sebastian came to me and said, we'd like to have a test program, I'd say, okay, cool, tell me how it's going to work, Sebastian. I love the idea, ultimately, of the self-driving car, and I'll tell you why. Number one, it will reduce death because of the problems of drunk driving. And secondly, it's going to be such a great thing for our senior citizens who get locked in their homes, and now they could get in a self-driving vehicle. I mean, it's just great stuff. So, I mean, those are things we have to keep ourselves open to, but fundamentally, it's having good highways and making sure that they're safe.
Hi, I'm Laura Kaprowski with Morpsey, and the question I have is from Don Hollister, and he's asking, are you satisfied with how thoroughly current oil and gas drilling regulations are being implemented?
Oh, boy. Love the industry. I love the industry. I mean, the industry itself. I just saw Jason Wilson yesterday. He works with me in the Appalachian Regional Commission. I told him, I want you on these well sites. These companies, out-of-state companies that are in this state, I want them hiring Ohioans. I don't want a bunch of people from Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma. Let me make that clear, Carol. That's back to that one question you asked me. I love Oklahoma, okay? Love Oklahoma. Love Iowa, it's...
And I'm sure you probably love New Hampshire.
I love everybody everywhere. What was the question?
We're talking about oil and gas.
Oh, yeah. Okay, look. Let's let this make your blood boil. They're paying 20 cents on a $100 barrel of oil. You should all sign up for that kind of a tax situation. This is a total and complete ripoff to the people in this state. It's outrageous. And then they take our stuff and they go back and they cut their taxes and they have our wealth in their state and they don't pay for it. We're going to stop this. We tried in that legislature to have a reasonable severance tax. It was 4, now it's 4.5. I think it's going a little higher because we want to have a competitive severance tax, and we want to get the money, the wealth, so that we can, first of all, help the locals to make sure their stuff is working, and secondly, I want everybody in Ohio to get a tax cut out of this. Now, out in North Dakota, they get like a 9% severance tax. We were proposing 4%. Every day they wait, it goes higher. And, I went out with these 2 dimes at this speech I made, and the legislature went crazy. You know what John Paul Jones said? I've not yet begun to fight. Now, let me tell you a couple other things. The oil companies told me, oh, we don't care about severance tax. Then they fought it. And then they told me, we think we have to have good regulations, and we couldn't get that through either, but we did because we got the Democrats to help us. And I want to say a word about bipartisanship while we're at it. Do we need more regulations? Yes. We're going to need more regulations on the wellhead. Why do we care about this? Because this industry is fantastic for this state. I believe in this industry. I support this industry. But you know what? There's a proper way to have it operate in our state, both from what they pay and the way they're regulated. Because I'll tell you, if you don't regulate this thing right, you're going to lose people in the communities who are going to say it's dangerous. And it is not dangerous. And people said, well, you're going to have, I guess there were some people out there who don't like fracking, but you know, they said, well, what's the situation like around Ohio? I said, well, you know, in places like Youngstown, they kind of like this industry because mom can finally get her adult son out of the attic, get him a job, you know. I mean, in all seriousness, here's the thing about this industry. First of all, it's going to go through parts of Ohio that for too long have been ignored, that have struggled. Secondly, it's going to allow industries to come here who want to reduce the cost of their energy costs in order to be more successful and more profitable. Fantastic. Thirdly, talk about Jobs Ohio. Let me tell you about Jobs Ohio. You want advanced material? You want to be in a position of where we can explore all kinds of things that we're not even, that, you know, the advanced materials, the polymers. Ohio at one point was the polymer capital. We can be the polymer capital again. Better have smart people working on it. That's why I brought some folks in on the outside who are consulting with our people, because this could unlock such an incredible thing in this state. But it has to be regulated, and they have to pay their fair share as they deplete our resources in this state. And legislature is going to have to understand this. Or maybe there's another way to get this done. But this is enough. Enough.
Kim?
I'm not that passionate about this, just so you know.
Governor, your
Yes.
next question is from Leonard Fisher. Leonard is with the American Cancer Society's Cancer Action Network, and he asks, Representative Margaret Rule has introduced House Bill 281 to ban tobacco products from Ohio public schools, including all sports venues and parking lots. The bill has not gotten out of committee. The Ohio School Board had voted unanimously to recommend the same provisions a couple of years ago. Is there anything you can do, Governor, to encourage movement of this bill?
Well, you know, I got to understand in this job, I used to be a member of the legislature. You know, I was a state senator, then I was a congressman, and now I'm an executive. And you cannot be getting yourself in the middle of everything that's happening in that legislature. And in terms of that bill, I'm really not aware of that bill. You know, I just don't know, and I don't know where it is. I know this: I tried to raise taxes on tobacco in order to reduce the income tax, because I happen to believe in a tax system that encourages economic growth and risk-taking, and I thought raising the tax on cigarettes would have a double positive effect. Didn't go very well in the legislature. So we'll be having to go back at that. But I'll take a look at that and see. I mean, we don't want kids, you know, smoking on the playground. I mean, I just don't know enough about it, though.
One more question. We have time for one more.
Okay. This is from Margie Pizzuti from Goodwill Columbus, chair of the Human Service Chamber of Franklin County. Governor,
I don't know her either. Is she here?
Yes. You have been a steadfast and passionate champion of individuals who are differently abled in Ohio, and you both talk the talk and have walked the walk with the Employment First executive order in March of 2012. In your second term, what do you envision with this initiative to get traction in transforming the lives of individuals with intellectual disabilities?
Look, the problem that we have, first of all, Employment First is this, folks. If you have a disabled son or daughter, there has been too much of the time that they go to what's called a sheltered workshop, where they do where they produce things, and it's fine. Some people need to be in that environment, but some people have the capability to work at Kroger. Dave Blum's got them working in Ohio Health. there is an opportunity to have people working at a place where they, first of all, make a little bit more money, but I don't think that's the purpose, but where they get more personal satisfaction. Again, we're back to this old thing. I know a lot of people get nervous when you talk about religion, but I mean, it's just part of me. All of us are equal in the eyes of the Lord, whether we are Einstein or whether we've got a disability. So what? We're going to try to make sure that people can be in a place where they can realize what their purpose is. Margie, the problem is some families are very nervous about this because for many years the sheltered workshop was a place where they knew their son or daughter was, they were comfortable with it, and that's fine because we don't want to disrupt families. They got tough enough in having to run a schedule. So I've said to John Martin, why don't we focus on the new folks coming into the program? And look, that doesn't mean those who have been in this certain situation can't move out of that situation. You don't want to badger parents or have the sword of Damocles come down somehow on them. That's not right. But I said, start working on new things. Now, here's the other thing, Margie. I mean, when did you not understand how to get this done? We need every employer in our state to say there's room. And then when they say there's room, they got to be patient. And that's what we do. Look, I'm going to just tell you one last thing. I think the state is coming together. We're going to have our disagreements, that's for sure. I mentioned bipartisanship. What we've done on human trafficking with our friend from up in Toledo. She walked out on my State of the State, the first State of the State I made. And then we ended up signing her human trafficking bill up in Toledo, where she was then saying I was a great guy. I think she's attacking me these days, but that's okay. We need to bring that legislature more together. Part of it's my responsibility. We're going to fight about budgets and taxes and that, but there are so many other issues where we got to work together. And I would ask you to demand that and make sure that we don't become extreme in any way, from my party or theirs. People don't want that. They want to see problems fixed, they want to see stability, they want to see growth, and they want to have hope. So Margie, look, this is the last thing I want to tell you all. We've got to start talking in the schools. Don't do drugs. You don't have to be involved in start talking in some formal way. You see a kid down the street, you tell them, you don't do drugs, kid. They're like, what? There's a 50% greater chance if they hear don't do drugs that they will not do drugs. That's all of us. Mentoring in the schools. We've started a lot of programs here, but I tell you, loving a kid and supporting them, I don't mean just people that are down. I mean everybody, to give them direction and be confident about their future. Critically important. Senior citizens, we're thinking about a program now that if a senior citizen volunteers 100 hours, we'll give them some free credit to go to higher education. Maybe they won't go, but if we give them the ability to gift that to their grandson or granddaughter or maybe a kid down the street, we want them involved. I want our college students to start spending time with our seniors and driving them around. They'll learn more history from spending time with a senior than they will from a dusty old history book. We want everybody to get involved again, to make sure that we can reinforce those values of personal responsibility and compassion and resilience and hopefulness. That's what we want. It ain't going to come from the government. We can be a little bit involved. It's got to come from all of us if we want to honor those people, those veterans that put their lives on the line. That's what makes our country great. Not divisions, but an ability to have a decent conversation. The last thing I'll tell you, I was somewhere the other day and I said, we need to respect the office of the president. It was like there wasn't a Democrat within 100 miles of where I said it. The reporter was like, did you say that? Isn't that part of being an American? So that's where we got to go. And I'm not going to tell you we're not going to have fights and we're not going to have divisions, but at the end of the day, I love Ohio and the people in this state. The more united we are, we'll send a message to the rest of the country that we know what we're doing. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
One more thing.
Thank you, guys.
I want you to know that I timed it, and I think the governor set a record. He sat for 39 minutes.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. And remember, you can watch it again or you can share it with others through CTV, Columbus Television, WSU, and the PBS affiliates throughout Central Ohio through Ohio Channel, and always on the CMC YouTube site. Once more, help me thank our sponsors, Ohio Farm Bureau Federation, the Columbus Dispatch, Hannah News Service. Special thank you to Carol Luper, who has done 3 political forums in the last week and a half. And a special thanks to Governor John Kasich, the Republican candidate for governor. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy coffee and cookies in the lobby.